Hi, today I'm going to talk about colouring Bella with Pro Markers, as I've had so many requests for a tutorial. I'm going to show you how to colour this image. Here I've used both cool and warm greys using a dark to light blending technique. And if you're wondering what that is, it's where you get a selection of, in this case, greys, and you start with the darkest and you work your way down to the lightest. Now you can go the other way, you can start with light and move down to the dark, and that's actually what I did on this one here. But I'm going to demonstrate how to colour this image because I think that worked out a bit better for this image. So what we're going to do is move these out of the way. We're going to bring in our image here. And we're going to zoom in so that you can see better what I'm doing. These are the colours which I use to colour it in. I'm going to start off with this elephant, and for this one I used cool greys. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with cool grey 4, and I'm going to colour around, mainly around the edge of the image, kind of where I kind of find that going around the edge of the image ends up giving you a bit more definition, but also I also go to anywhere where I think there's shading. So anywhere I think that it's dark. So yeah, around the edge with the darkest colour. And then we're going to take the middle colour, which is a cool grey, and I'm going to overlap with the darkest colour. And this is what will give you that shaded, blended look. If it doesn't shade quite enough, then you can go over it some more. And finally, I'm going to get my cool grey one. I'm going to go over all the remaining area. Again, if it doesn't blend quite enough, then do it a little bit more. There we go. And that should blend in there. Now, I tend to, this is optional, but if I look at it and think, oh, it's not quite defined enough, I sometimes go in again with the darkest colour and just go around the edge. You have to do this quickly or you can get a line. It doesn't quite. So yeah, so often I actually end up doing the blending twice, but you don't have to do this. Only if you want to. So then I might take my cool grey and just blend that in again if it needs it. Again, this is optional. And again, if necessary, this is cool grey 1. There we go. I should say that I've done the head only first because it's best to work quickly when you're blending, so I tend to do the head first and then move on to the rest of the body. So I'm starting again with the cool grey 4, adding a band of colour along the bottom of the arm, around the body. Again, this is where I think it will be in shade, and the legs, and just around the toes. That'll do. Right, cool grey 3 is next. Just overlap there, overlap there, overlap there, and then finally cool grey 1 on the feet, but actually, oh, and on the arm. But actually on the tummy, I'm going to take one of my pinky colours, almond, because I think that gives, having a pinky look on the tummy is quite nice. So there, that's the first elephant done. And Now I'm going to move on to the next elephant, and I coloured this with warm greys, this next elephant. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but this time with warm greys. A large band of colour around the head, around the side. You can take, obviously, a lot more care over this when you're doing it. I might just do the arm. There. My next colour, excuse me, is warm grey 2. Just going to overlap that there. Mustn't forget the bottom of the ear. And then finally, warm grey 1. I'm going to go over. You see this lighter colour, what it's doing is it's actually pushing the darker colours further into the cards so you can't see them anymore. That's how this technique works. And what I actually didn't do so far, which I should do quickly while the ink is still wet, is I need to add the blush on the cheeks. I'm going to take pale pink here, a little bit of blush here, and then a little bit of rose pink in the middle. And what you can do is blend that back in by going back in with the pale pink. Best to do that when you've just done the head so that it blends in best. So now I'm going to go back in and do the rest of my elephant. This is my warm grey 4. Next my warm grey 2. And finally my warm grey 1. Then my almond for the tummy. So next I'm going to do the ears, and for this I'm going to take some pinks. I'm going to start off with my rose pink in the middle of the ear. And then I'm going to blend it with pastel pink on top, and then finally almond at the very edge to blend that together. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'll just add a bit of colour to the nails. I don't bother blending with the smallest areas, or at least you don't have to, because you know they're quite small. You get the best effects by blending the larger areas. Now for the rose, I'm going to take my a darker colour, which is a maroon. I'm going to go over pretty much the whole rose. You can leave a few bits. And then I'm going to take my rose pink and I'm going to go over the bits where I think they're going to be lighter. And what this pink will hopefully be doing eventually is pushing some of that maroon further into the card so I can create a highlight. And if that's not quite enough, then do it again with a paler pink. Bear in mind it will take a little bit of time for this to show through, so it's quite a good idea to do a bit and then wait, and then hopefully by the time you've coloured in something else it'll start to look more like what you want it to. So next I'm going to do the hearts, same thing, going to colour them in maroon first. And then add a bit of pink on top. Eventually that will push through and you'll start to see the highlighting. I kind of find that going light on top of dark tends to give a bit of a grainy, slightly sort of grainy texture to it, which is why it can in some cases look a bit better than light to dark. So it is personal preference. There we go, you can start to see it starting to come through now. And of course if you want to, you can go back in again. Now you can see it's pushed quite a lot through. Go back in again with that maroon and add in a bit of the darker area so you get more shading. And then finally maybe a bit of green for the leaves. And you can pick whatever colour obviously for the base. So hopefully that should give you an idea. That's my original image. That's one I've just coloured now. So I hope that's helpful and that it helps with your pro marker colouring.